But, Mark, let's move on into our next topic, and we're taking a look at Shane O'Mac is going to like this one. Our Twitter follower, Shane O'Mac. We're looking at Frank Reich, the new head coach of the Indianapolis Colts.
And he really is, too.
Yeah, I'm really going to ask you, though, is he the right choice for the Colts and Andrew Luck? Not just the Colts and Andrew Luck. Is Frank the right choice?
Oh, I think he's the best option that was available. I mean, 100%. This was the best option.
But the way you say best option available, it doesn't really give me a vote of confidence.
Well, here's my thing about Frank Reich, and I said it when we had Christian on the podcast, and we kind of talked about this a little bit.
With the whole Josh McDaniels stuff.
Exactly. My whole thing with this, it comes down to one thing. Who is really responsible for the quarterback's success in Philadelphia? Ooh. Is it Doug Peterson? Is it Frank Reich? Is it
DiFilippo?
There's three different options that could be, or it could just be that Carson Wentz was really good and maybe we all underestimated Nick Foles.
Yeah,
Super Bowl
Nick
MVP Nick Foles.
I'm hoping it's DiFilippo. I'm putting my money on DiFilippo.
Well, he's moving up in the world.
Main reason is because he's with my Vikings now.
Yeah, moving up in the world to a team that didn't quite make it there, but hey,
doesn't have a quarterback right now. We have no quarterbacks on contract right now.
DiFilippo don't need no quarterbacks.
He'll go out there and be the quarterback.
No, he's going to give the ball to Dalvin Cook and say, have fun, kid.
Yeah, just have fun. You're the new scat back. No, but the one thing, here's the thing I worry about. And like, I see a ton of different articles every single day. He needs surgery. He doesn't need surgery. He needs a second opinion. Doesn't need a second opinion.
Well, today, Rappaport also was saying he hasn't thrown a football, but he's thrown balls that are heavier than a football.
Yeah, I hear that too. And here's the thing I think about.
We're all thinking it. We're overthinking it.
I want to kind of look at this is Frank Reich might be the right coach. However, is Andrew Luck going to play this season? And if he doesn't, how does that really set up the Reich era? Because, I mean, I'm going to kind of pull this into what we did last week with our mock draft. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. Colts sitting there at number 3. Frank coming in. If you don't think Andrew Luck is ready to go week 1, do you roll with Jacoby Brissett? Or do you go, hey, you know what? I need a quarterback that I can trust. We're going quarterback at 3.
No, you luck into the situation of Andrew Luck.
Literally. Suck for luck, baby.
Those were good days back in the suck for luck days. But you luck into this great situation having a once-in-a-generation quarterback who, the moment Andrew Luck comes back, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
But that's the thing. Will he come back?
Yes, he's going to come back. He's been fine. He's throwing footballs that are not footballs. He's throwing balls that are heavier than footballs.
That's another thing. You ask Jim Irsay, it's all in his head.
And Jim Irsay says it's all in his damn head. If he if he, I don't know, tries to just smile every now and then, maybe he'll stop being so depressed. Andrew Luck is going to be fine. Will he play game 1, game 4, game 6? I don't care because it doesn't matter with a quarterback. We just talked about it in the last segment. Quarterbacks don't have that shelf life of 30. They can play into the 30s. A quarterback only really gets old when he's about 36, 37 years old. You got a long time with Andrew Luck left. And hell, you only won 1 Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. The bar is set kind of low in this case. I actually like Frank Reich a lot for this. I think he'll work well with Jacoby, who was looking okay. I think the biggest problem for him is just the simple fact that the Colts are not that great of a team. There's a reason that they're 4-12.
Well, I mean, one of the guys that they let go, Vontae Davis, he's making his free agent tour right now. I believe today he was with the 49ers, spending a day in the Bay Area. But it's like, that was a guy, cornerback, could have been one of your top was one of your top corners on this team. You basically let him go. And, I mean, the rest of this team, that's the thing. Like, my first question is Andrew Luck. Will he come back? Because I agree with you. When he comes back, problem solved. You don't have to worry about it.
And that's actually part of the reason why I think Andrew Luck being hurt is actually kind of a good thing for the Colts.
Because the team is and get some top 5 talent.
Yeah, the team has been so talent barren with the exception of Andrew Luck. He's the best thing on the team, and he's the only thing good on the team. That's why he's hurt, because he had no one to help him out. True. He had no one to keep him on his feet.
Well, I mean, it also didn't help, like, what was it? The guy they just traded in Dorsett for Jacoby. Was that 2 years ago that they drafted him? Like 15, 14? Drafted him out of the U. Thought he was going to be a big, deep threat with him and T.Y. Hilton. Never panned out. Now he's traded. And the
that was an exciting pick, too.
He's just kind of there with the New England Patriots. But the thing with the Colts is I don't question Reich as the hire. Like, it's not like coming in like, oh, is he the right guy? I question the situation and whether or not, like, I don't know if I can look into my crystal ball and see a situation where the Colts make the right moves to either build a team around Andrew Luck, get a good defense to compete. Because the one thing I wanted to mention is, like, you threw out you only won one Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. The flip side to that is the reason why you didn't win those Super Bowls with Peyton Manning is because most of the time he was going one-on-one with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady just beat him.
Sure.
The one year he won the Super Bowl was the year he got over that Tom Brady hump and then beat the Bears in the Super Bowl.
Well, he went to a couple Super Bowls with the Colts.
Yeah.
So I want to give him... And then he ran into Drew Brees.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think right now with Frank Reich, I think this is a great time for him to come in because the expectations are low. This is a team that has been bad. And how long were they willing to be bad with Pagano? They let him suffer through some bad seasons.
They let Bruce Arians... I mean, looking back, it's not like it was the biggest thing, but basically you let a guy in Bruce Arians walk because you wanted to keep Chuck Pagano around.
Exactly. So I think there will be some loyalty here. They will understand that, hey, you're working with a backup quarterback right now. And when Andrew Luck comes back, we will wait and see what happens when he comes back. That will be your true test. I think it could be half the year, it could be one season, it could be 2 seasons, does not matter to me. I am not touching this coach unless he's absolutely terrible and ruins everything. Well, I mean, I'm not going to touch this coach until Andrew Luck shows up. That is day one in my eyes for you.
Well, what also could change, just to go off of that, what could change Frank Reich's future with the Colts is a lot of people were reporting before the hire was made, while they were still interviewing candidates, was basically, this guy that's being brought in by Ballard, this is going to be the make or break for Ballard. Like, there were people reporting like, hey, you know what? If he brings in a coach, it doesn't work out, he could get canned and he can get fired by Irsay. That's one thing that I think would be one of the only things to affect Reich is if Ballard gets the boot because they're bad for a season or two, whether that's because Andrew Luck didn't play still or because of other factors. That's the only reason how I see this ending. But I think 2 years.
I think they'll do all right. They're in a prime spot right now. I really think that with this draft pick, I'm hoping that they get the chance to go with Saquon Barkley because I think that's such a useful tool. And Frank Gore did a great job for what you really kind of want out of Frank Gore.
And they can get him for one more year, even if they can't get a Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, exactly. They will be okay in this situation. But I would love them to go out and do that. I would love for that to be a situation where they can get that running back who is going to help Jacoby Brissett be better, or whoever's this quarterback. And then when Andrew Luck comes back, he can get, hopefully, what the projection is, one of these top running backs for the next, hopefully, a decade. Probably a little bit less because, as we were talking about with running backs, they don't last as long in the NFL. But you're just going to hope that you give your top quarterback a top running back to work with, and then you're building up this core. If you can just give him some offensive line help,
the big thing,
it'll be great.
The big thing for the Colts will be the draft to me, because ever since 2012, that was the Andrew Luck, to me, one of the better draft classes that the Colts had, where you had players in that. Andrew Luck, obviously number 1 overall. Then you had second pick of the second round, you get Coby Fleener, his teammate. I know he's not there anymore, but Coby Fleener was a good pickup. You get also another tight end in Dwayne Allen that played some good minutes with you guys. You get T.Y. Hilton in that same draft, third round. You get a guy like Vic Ballard in that draft. Then you go to the next draft. Your first pick at 24 is Bjorn Werner. That's your first pick. Your second pick is a guy that I like only because he played for my college team, in the Illinois Fighting Illini, Hugh Thornton.
Yeah.
That was your next pick, third round. Then it's like you didn't have a first-round pick in 2014, so your first pick was Jack Mewhort from the Ohio State University, second-round pick. 2015, who's your first-round pick, 29th overall? The guy who's not on your team, you traded for Jacoby Brissett, Philip Dorsett. So, I mean, really until this year, and Chris Ballard, you can only judge him off of last year's draft class. Yeah. And I'll be honest, looking at who they got, I know they only played 1 year this year, but I remember coming out of the draft and kind of talking about winners and losers. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Colts, I listed them as a winner, but I remember saying to you, you get Malik Hooker in the first round. You get a guy like Quincy Williams, who both you and I, fringe first-round talent. You get him at 14 in the second. You get a guy in Zach Banner, who early on we had him as a first-round talent, the offensive tackle out of USC. Yeah. So you get some guys, especially your first two. I really liked Hooker and Wilson, boom, boom, right away at safety and cornerback. Mm-hmm. Let's see what Ballard can now do. Yes, he's going to have another free agency, but let's see what he does with another draft. Does he go pass rusher? Does he go Saquon if he's there?
Yeah.
What is he going to do with this draft? Because, that number 3 pick is a big one, but are you going to hit on the rest of your picks as well? Mm-hmm. Are you going to hit on those later picks and, more importantly, like the second, third, fourth-round picks?
So it's obvious to me that this is building the team right now. And I think it's important because, like I said, it's actually kind of a nice thing that the Colts have been without Andrew Luck and have been bad because they've been able to acquire young talent. And like you say, there's been some misses in some of these recent drafts, that's for sure.
Well, before the Ballard era, which started last draft.
Yeah. But I think that that's similar to what you see in a lot of teams. I mean, the Chicago Bears are a perfect example of that, not far from Indianapolis, of the regime with Phil Emery missed on basically everything except for Kyle Long, and then you get a new era that starts out. So I think that's okay.
Was Kevin White Ryan Pace? He was the first Ryan Pace. That was the first pick, Ryan, right?
Yep, exactly. And then injuries happened, and maybe one day he'll play it down or two. Who knows?
Maybe.
But it's just one of those things where you get this situation, you start new, you start to build the team back up, and there's a lot of room to go up. I mean, they give up more points than almost anybody. They barely score anything. The passing game was not very good. Running game was just average. There's a lot of room to move up, but I definitely think, Frank Reich is a hot coaching candidate out there, and they got him. Andrew Luck is a great quarterback. People will want to play around him. You get a top quality. I'm really, really hoping for the Colts fans out there, they get Saquon Barkley to kickstart this offense.
I'll be completely honest. If the Browns don't take Saquon at 1,
you think the Giants?
I think it'd be very hard for the Giants to pass him up. Basically, with what the running back situation has been in New York.
I don't doubt it.
I think when on the Primetime podcast we talked about this, where it's like, name the last Giant running back that you could be like, yeah, pretty decent season. The last one I thought of, Rashad Jennings.
That's who I would have thought of, yeah.
And Tiki Barber probably was the best Giant running back that I've seen in my lifetime. So, I mean, I think it'd be hard for him to be at 3 for the Colts. I think the Colts in their draft are just with that first pick. You know what? We're just going to have to take Bradley Chubb.
Well, I mean, we just have to take Bradley Chubb.
It's a good pick.
I was just going to say, there's no wrong pick for the Colts here.
Even if it's a quarterback?
There's one wrong pick for the Colts, and it's a quarterback.
Josh Allen. 3rd overall.
The Colts. Maybe you can trade bait him then. I don't know. We can pull something off. Maybe the Giants will take him. But anyways, it's just one of these situations here where a defensive player is going to be amazing for you. Colts fans, offensive fucking line will be useful for you. Just accept that you guys need offensive line help.
People really hate that you kept trying to give them an offensive line.
You need it. 3. You need it really badly. There's a reason your quarterback is injured.
They can get that in the second round.
Your quarterback is injured. He missed an entire season. He might miss another one.
Jacoby can run around back there. He's got legs.
The Russell Wilson syndrome. Andrew Luck can't do that. But anyways, they can't really go wrong with this first round pick. I mean, defense will be amazing, and there's a lot of great defensive players out there for him. I just would love them to get that running back, but they can figure out a running back situation somehow, some way. There are quality running backs in the draft. They can get one of them later.
Well, the last thing I'm going to ask you, and first off, to get to that point, even if a guy like Darius Geis falls out second round, and Nick Chubb, if he's high on their boards, there's running backs they can get with that third pick in the then second round if they want to go running back there. Last question I want to ask you. At the end of the day, Frank Reich era is done in the Colts. What do you think the headline is when he's done being the head coach of the Colts? Is it a long thing and we're seeing a great line with him? Or is it like, man, he only panned out for a few years and we're on to the next coach?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice, long coaching career. If anything of what you saw in Philadelphia will point you into anything, he's been around quite a bit. He's been around some great quality quarterbacks in the past. He knows offense. I think what we're going to see out of him is a guy who gets the most out of a quarterback and a quarterback who helps him. You're hoping for a little bit of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick type of situation, but I don't think we're going to quite get that. But I definitely do think you're going to get maybe a great connection like a Sean Payton with Drew Brees type of connection between that quarterback and that head coach. And I definitely think that we're going to see good things out of them. Will this team be an absolute dynasty? I don't know, but I can at least say this will be a team that probably has one of the best offenses year in, year out when Andrew Luck gets back there.
Well, and a good thing for the Colts, one thing we didn't bring up about Frank Reich, it's good to have a guy that at least knows how good the times were when this team was good, because he was an offensive assistant and then quarterback coach, wide receivers coach in the late 2000s. So he was there right before they got Andrew Luck. So the end of the Peyton Manning time, and even his last year as quarterback coach before he went wide receiver, I believe either that one or the 29, depending on how the Super Bowl was. One of those 2 years was the Super Bowl year that they lost to the Saints. But I think that in order to tell how Frank Reich's career as head coach is going to be with the Colts, it is solely dependent on what happens with Andrew Luck. Because Andrew Luck right now is the biggest question mark in, I would say, the entire league almost. Because, like I mentioned before, you get some reports saying one thing, someone else says another thing. Jim Irsay says it's all in his head, hasn't thrown a football, but he's throwing medicine balls that are bigger than footballs. So, I mean, I look at it and Andrew Luck is the missing piece to predicting how it's going to be. If Andrew Luck was healthy, slam dunk, Colts are going to be a playoff team. Colts are going to challenge for a Super Bowl possibly, just because they got Andrew Luck on the field. Maybe not Super Bowl favorites because you need that run game. You need wide receivers more so than T.Y. Hilton to throw the ball to, but that's the big thing. Will Andrew Luck come back this season? When will he come back this season? And I don't think we're going to get a real kind of gauge of what the Frank Reich situation will be or how it will start in the Colts until the 2019 season. Don't expect a Sean McVay situation because mainly the quarterback's injured right now. And I don't expect Jacoby Brissett to have the Goff McVay kind of connection with Frank Reich. I think it's going to be 2019 where it's like Andrew Luck is coming back, full season, and that's going to be the kickstart to what Frank Reich can do with this team. Any final thoughts before we move on into the draft?
No, I like it. I'm a fan of this one. This is probably, even though it's weirdly one of the last, well, it really kind of is the last signing. It's one of the most exciting signings.
It wasn't the last, and then Josh McDaniels said, "No, you are the last."
Yeah, he's like, I want to make this a big deal for you. Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the most exciting coaching signings this year.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below of Frank Reich being the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. How do you think it's going to go? And then on the side of Andrew Luck, what do you think his situation is going to be this year and how he plays into the Frank Reich kind of era with the Colts. Let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section.